Guess he finally compensated for something. Those words cut across the warm evening air as if someone had thrown a rock through a window. My name is Jeremy. I'm 37 and I run projects for Thornbury Systems down here in Memphis, Tennessee. The woman who said it loud enough for all her friends to hear was my wife, Vanessa, and she said it right as I rolled my 1963 Corvette into our driveway. Their laughter spilled onto the porch like they were watching a comedy. I sat behind the wheel a beat, letting the engine tick, listening to them make sport of something I had worked 2 years and every spare hour to accomplish. For the last 24 months, I'd been putting in extra shifts, double Saturdays, overtime during the week, taking on the jobs other men passed up. Every pay stub I folded, every tip I tucked under my mattress, every tax refund I didn't spend went into an account Vanessa didn't know existed. She told herself I was just a man who liked to work. The truth was simpler and older. I'd wanted this Corvette since I was 15. I'd seen one at a county car show with my dad and it lodged in me like a promise. This one was cherry red with pristine white racing stripes and an original 327. The previous owner had spent a decade restoring her, and when I called, he said 3 other buyers were coming through. I showed up with cash in with the kind of old talk that made him trust me. He looked me in the eye and said, "You'll take care of her, won't you?" I told him I would. I killed the engine and sat a moment, running my hand along the hood, feeling the curve under my palm. Through the kitchen window I watched Vanessa and her friends gossip and giggle. One of them called it a midlife crisis. Another said men buy toys when they fear getting old. They leaned into the joke, dripping their judgments like cheap perfume. Vanessa caught my eye and called out in that syrupy tone she uses when she wants everyone to admire her wit. "Jeremy, we were just discussing your new purchase. The girls think it's adorable." I walked past them without answering, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and looked at my car through the glass, moonlight turning the red to something darker and more private. I thought about my dad, how he used to point out a straight line on a fender and say, "You notice the details, boy." He died 3 years ago without ever seeing me with my own one. I thought about every missed dinner, every weekend I slept less so I could make another payment. Pride mixed with something like bitterness. The joke they made of my dream landed differently inside me now. It made my chest tighten, not because I'd been humiliated, but because it clarified how little they understood the things I valued. Vanessa and I met 8 years ago at a mutual friend's wedding. She was a dental hygienist, then organized, polished, talk of going back to school to do something bigger. I was already in construction, running a small crew, scraping together enough work to start breathing easier. Early on we were partners in the practical sense. Mortgage payments split, lawn mowed, bills paid. We bought the house, got married, carved out a life. But somewhere around the 5th year, Vanessa stopped working. She said she wanted to make our home perfect, to be ready if we decided to start a family. The child never came, but a taste for finer things did. At first I was glad to provide what man wouldn't want to give his wife comfort, but her wants escalated. Designer clothes, expensive furniture, girls' weekends to Nashville and Little Rock. I didn't begrudge her small luxuries, but the little comments started those quiet barbs about my work boots, my truck, how I looked coming home with concrete dust in my hair. She'd laugh. "Jeremy fixes things for a living," in a tone that made it sound as though I'd confessed to something embarrassing. The Corvette, in particular, became a recurring target. Whenever I mentioned saving for one, she'd roll her eyes and start calculating how the money should be better spent. Kitchen remodels, vacations, practical renovations. Then the receipts showed up. Last month I found $800 worth of tags from Atlanta in her purse. When I confronted her, she said she deserved nice things after putting up with me and my boring car talk. Around that time, I started noticing other things. The way she tuned out when I talked about work, how she left the room when I took calls from my crew, how she brightened when she got credit card notifications. 3 weeks ago, I passed Riverside Park on my lunch break and saw Vanessa sitting on a bench with Kevin from next door. His wife Beth was out of town. They weren't whispering about whether. Her hand was on his knee and he was twirling her hair. I didn't approach them. I didn't need to. I drove away and called the man selling the Corvette. Maybe that was the first time the thought of leaving stirred in me. Maybe it grew in small increments behind my patience, in the gap between the life I had built and the life she flaunted. The driveway scene pushed it forward. That night I lay awake while Vanessa slept, the house breathing softly around me. At 2 a.m., I got up, went to the garage, and stood under the harsh fluorescent light. The paint gleamed like a promise kept. The chrome was spotless. I opened the glove box and found registration, title, insurance all in my name. The car, the house, a lot of things my work paid for them. That realization was a key dot. I started looking at apartment listings in Little Rock just to see what a clean break looked like. Month-to-month leases, affordable rents. I looked up divorce attorneys and read about asset division and the consequences of adultery in Arkansas. When the morning came, I'd made a plan. For the next 2 weeks I played the perfect husband, complimenting Vanessa's meals, feigning interest in her day, even suggesting that weekend to Nashville she'd been nagging about. She devoured it, probably convinced the driveway comment had put me in my place. All the while I opened an account in Little Rock, forwarded my mail to a P.O. box, took photos of receipts, built a paper trail to protect myself. Acting normal was the hardest part. Every wave from Kevin's yard felt like a slap. He'd grin and go about his yard work while he slept with my wife. I smiled back, because rage wouldn't help me. Last week I put in my notice, told my supervisor I was transferring to our Little Rock branch. He understood. Good foremen get opportunities. I started packing small things: overnight papers, bank statements, insurance documents, into a briefcase that fit behind the Corvette's passenger seat. Everything else could be replaced. Some things couldn't. Tonight Vanessa was hosting another friend's get-together to show off a new piece of furniture. Perfect timing. I packed one last bag and slid it into the trunk while she showered. My phone rang. Kevin on the other end. "Hey Jeremy, you heading to work early today? Saw you loading up the car." A calm voice, a casual question. He had no idea what I'd really done. I looked toward his house, imagined what his expression might be if he knew I was leaving. My mouth tasted of concrete dust and something harder as of, "Everything's fine, Kevin, just fine." After I hung up, I realized he'd seen me. That meant he'd probably mention it to Vanessa when they had their next little meetup. I needed Tomo faster. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Simple, clean. "Vanessa, I've gone to Little Rock to think things. Need some time away. We'll call in a few days. Jeremy." No explanation, no drama, just facts. I was backing out off the driveway when my phone started buzzing. Text from Vanessa. "Where are you going with your car? Kevin said you were packing." Another buzz. "Jeremy, answer me. What's going on then? This isn't funny. Come back home right now." I turned off my phone and headed for the interstate. The drive to Little Rock took exactly 2 hours and 15 minutes. The Corvette handled like a dream, smooth and powerful. I had the windows down, radio playing classic rock, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. My new apartment was in a converted warehouse. Nothing fancy, but it had exposed brick walls, big windows overlooking the river. The landlord, a guy named Frank, was waiting for me with keys. "Nice ride," he said, nodding at the Corvette. "Don't see many of those in original condition." "She's been well cared for," I said. "I can tell. Garage space comes with the apartment if y'all want it. Extra $50 a month. I'll take it." That evening, I finally turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls from Vanessa. 8 voicemails. A dozen texts that got progressively angrier. The first voicemail was confused. "Jeremy, what are you doing? Your note doesn't make any sense. Call me." The third one was irritated. "Okay, this is ridiculous. I don't know what kind of midlife crisis you're having, but you need to come home." By the 7th she was furious. "Fine, stay, but you're not taking that stupid car away from me. I helped pay for it too." That was interesting. She'd never contributed $1 toward the never contributed much toward nothing, actually. The last voicemail came in around 9 p.m. "Jeremy, Kevin told me he saw you packing like you were leaving for good. That's not what this is it? You can't just walk away from 8 years off marriage over a joke. Call me back." I didn't call back. Instead, I drove the Corvette down to the riverfront and parked overlooking the water. The Arkansas River was wide and dark, with lights from the downtown buildings reflecting off the surface. I'd never seen Little Rock at night before. It was prettier than I'd expected. Vanessa, I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. On the fourth call, I answered. "There you are," she said, her voice shaky. "Jeremy, what are you doing?" People are asking questions. I don't know what to tell them. "Tell them the truth," I said. "What truth?" "That my husband ran away with his toy car like a teenager." "Tell them their friend left his cheating wife." The silence on the other end stretched for about 10 seconds. "What are you talking about?" she finally said. "Kevin sends his regards," I said and hung up. My phone didn't ring again that night. The next morning, I started my new job with Oakspire Construction. Same type of work, but the crew was smaller and the projects were more interesting. Historic renovations, custom homes. The kind of detailed work I'd always wanted to do but never had time for in Memphis. Miss Supervisor Craig was about my age and had worked commercial construction for 20 years before switching to a. During lunch break, he asked about the Corvette parked in the company lot. Always wanted one of those, he said. What year? 63. Bought her 3 weeks ago. Good investment. They're only going up in value. He paused, studying me face. You look like a man with his Tory dot getting divorced, I said. Wife didn't appreciate the car. Craig nodded. Mike's wife didn't appreciate much either. That's why she's an ex. That evening I called my brother Danny and Jackson, who was the only family I had left since Daddy. I told him about Vanessa, about Kevin, about the move to Little Rock. Jesus, Jeremy, why didn't you say something sooner? What was I going to say? That my wife was treating me like her personal bank account. That she was screwing the neighbor. You could have talked to me. I needed to figure it out myself. Danny was quiet for a minute. What a booth house. Your business contacts, you're just walking away from a. The house is mortgaged tough limit because of her spending. My business contacts know my reputation. That follows me anywhere. And Vanessa, what's she going to do? Same thing she's been doing for 3 years. Nothing. That weekend I hired a lawyer named She had 30 years of experience in family law and a reputation for We met in her office Saturday morning and I laid out everything. The financial record showing Vanessa spending versus her zero income. The photos I'd taken of her with Kevin. The documentation of her pattern of public disrespect and emotional abuse. This ivory comprehensive, Patricia said, flipping through the folder. How long have you been planning this? Honestly, I think I've been planning it for 2 years without realizing it. Every overtime shift, every extra dollar I saved, every time she made me feel small, I was building toward this moment. Your wife's going to fight for half of everything. Let her try. The house ice underwater because of her credit card debt. The only real asset is my construction business, and that's built in relationships and reputation, not physical property. What about alimony? She's 35 years old and healthy. She can get a job. Patricia smiled. I like working with clients who've done their homework. We'll file the papers Monday morning. Sunday evening. I was sitting on my apartment balcony when Vanessa called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got better of me. Jeremy, we need I'm listening. This is crazy. You can't just throw away our marriage because of one stupid comment. It wasn't tone comment. Vanessa. It was 8 years off. I was joking. My friends know I was joking. Your friends know you've been humiliating your husband for years while he worked overtime to pay for your. That's not how it. How was it? She couldn't answer. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow, I said. Jeremy, please. I know things haven't been perfect, but we can fix this. I can change. You had 8 years to change. I'm done waiting. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow would be interesting, but Monday morning, Patricia filed the divorce papers. By law, Vanessa had Tobe served within 30 days. I asked Patricia to wait 2 weeks before having her served. I wanted to be settled in new life before the legal war started. The construction work was going well. Craig had put me in charge of renovating a 1920s mansion downtown, and the craftsmanship was exactly the kind of facade I'd been missing. Details mattered here. Precision mattered. It felt good to build something beautiful instead of just functional. When it's evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. Jeremy. This is Beth, Kevin's wife. My blood went cold. Hey, Beth. I got back from visiting my mum yesterday. Kevin's been acting strange, guilty about something. I found text messages on his. I didn't say anything. They were from your wife. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. How long have you known? About a month. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? She was quiet for a long time. Probably not. Not then. What are you going to do? Same thing you did. You think Kevin's packing his stuff tonight? Good for you, Jeremy. I'm sorry about Vanessa. About all of it. You deserve a better, so do you. After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Validation. Someone else had seen what I'd been leaving with, and they understood why I synced wife. Friday morning. Vanessa called from a number I didn't recognize. Jeremy. Kevin told his wife about our sickness. She called me. You knew about yous and you didn't tell her. That wasn't my job. She's divorcing him. She's taking everything. His business, the house, their savings. Good for her, Jeremy. This is serious. People are talking. Everyone knows what happened. Let them talk. My friends think I'm a terrible person. Are you? Don't do that. Don't make me the villain here. Vanessa, you cheated on me with a married man while I worked overtime to pay for your fest. Then you publicly humiliated for buying something I dreamed about since I was a kid. You made yourself I can explain. No need. My lawyer will be in touch soon. Your lawyer? Jeremy, This is getting out of hand. This got out of hand when you decided our marriage vows didn't matter. I hung up and realized I wasn't angry. I was free. That weekend I took the Corvette out to Hot Springs, drove the winding map, felt the engine respond to every curve, stopped at a classic car show, and spent the afternoon talking to other owners about restoration, about the joy of finding something special and taking care of it. An older man with a 1965 Mustang asked about my story. I told him about working overtime to afford Decker, about finally making the dream happen. That's what it's all about. He said, not everyone understands the connection between a man and his machine, but when you find the right one, it's worth of everything you put into it. Driving home that evening, watching the sunset paint the Arkansas sky orange and purple, I thought about what he'd said. The right connection was worth of everything you put into it. I'd learned that lesson about more than just cars. 2 weeks later, Patricia called with news. Vanessa was served this morning. She wants to meet with you. With both of us. She says she has an offer. I'm listening. She's willing to waive any claim to your business assets and future earnings in exchange for keeping. I laughed. The house that's underwater because of her credit cards. That's what I told her lawyer. They want to meet Thursday at 2 p.m. Thursday came. Vanessa looked smaller somehow, sitting across from me in Patricia's conference room. Her lawyer, a nervous young guy named Brent, did most of the talking. My client recognizes that the marriage has reconciled differences. He started. Your client committed adultery. Patricia interrupted. We have photos. Vanessa's face went red. Those photos don't prove anything. Patricia slid a folder across the table. Actually, they do, along with witness statements from the phone records and bank statements showing how you've been spending your husband's money while contributing nothing to the household. Brent looked through the folder and his expression changed. Mrs. Williams, you didn't mention the extent of Theodore. I gave him 8 years off me life. You gave him 8 years of humiliation, Patricia replied. My client is prepared to be generous. He'll give you 6 months to find employment and get in your feet. After that, you're on your. I can't survive on my own. I haven't worked in 3 years. Then you should have thought of that before you decided to cheat. Vanessa looked directly at me for the first time. Jeremy, please. This isn't you. You're innate cruel. You're right. I said I'm not cruel, but I'm not stupid anymore either. What about our memories? What about them? Doesn't that mean anything? I thought about her laughing with her friends about my dream car, about Kevin's hand on her knee, about 8 years of feeling like I wasn't good enough. It means I learned what I want to law anymore. Vanessa, real tears, not the manipulative in she used to use when she wanted something. You're really going to leave him with nothing? I'm leaving you with exactly what you contributed to our marriage. I said nothing. 6 months later, I got word from Denny. Thought Vanessa had moved back in with her parents in Nashville. She'd found Walker's a dental hygienist again, but the pay was half what she used to make. Her social circle had evaporated when Thea's divorce became public, and everyone learned about the affair. Kevin's divorce had been even messier. Beth got the house, his landscaping business, and half his retirement. Who was living in a studio apartment and working for someone else's company. I'd settled into Little Rock like I'd lived there my whole life. The historic renovation project was featured in Arkansas's Home magazine, and 3 Nucleans had contacted Craig, specifically asking for my crew. I was making more money doing work I actually enjoyed. Evenings, I'd drive the Corvette down Tuth River and watch the sunset over Theawater. Sometimes other car enthusiasts would stop to admire her, and we'd talk about engines and restoration and the satisfaction of taking care of something valuable. Last week I met a woman named Claire at a coffee shop near me. She was a teacher, recently divorced herself, and when she saw me getting out of the Corvette, her first words were, "Beautiful car. Classic lines never go out of style." We talked for an hour about dreams, deferred and second chances, about the difference between people who build things up and people who tear them down. Vanessa faced the consequences of 8 years of taking her husband for granted, losing not only the comfortable lifestyle Jeremy had provided through his overtime work, but also her social standing when her affair became public knowledge. While her former lover Kevin lost his business and marriage as well, both discovered that betraying loyal spouses carried a price they weren't prepared to pay, leaving them to rebuild their lives from nothing. While the people they'd wronged found happiness elsewhere, I never thought I'd thank someone for making my dreams. But Vanessa's cruelty taught me the difference between settling for disrespect and demanding the life I deserved.